Good morning. Welcome to another episode of No Stingy Energy.
In the building. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
man.
Sir. Feels good to be back, baby. Feels good to be back.
Yeah, man. We got a lot going on, man. A lot going on. It ain't looking too hot. Oh, I ain't gonna lie to you. It ain't looking too hot, man.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I know we briefly talked about this, maybe a month ago or something, like with the Airbnb situation. But this,
yeah, we did.
We go a little deeper this time. It's a real problem.
Yeah, it really is, man. And to be honest with you, man, it's kind of scary, bro. Because I'm thinking about the person who, right, is, hold on one second. Let me get this situated here. There we go. I'm thinking about the person who, new investor, right? You know, not to put it on a gender situation, but new, female investor ain't really just trying to be about that smoke like that. And having to deal with folk who don't want to do right by an investment property can be traumatizing, bruh. Like, or anybody who is, that ain't really just new. I mean, they new to investments. They new to having to deal with people that are unruly, bruh. That could be a traumatizing situation. Because to be honest with you, bro, it's traumatizing even for people who have experience. Imagine what it's like for somebody who don't have experience, who ain't just built for that kind of smoke like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I get what you're saying, especially for the people that have no experience. Let's just say a woman got a grown man in the house, look a little threatening, call the police. They don't do nothing. Like, what's the next steps? What you gonna do?
Don't do nothing. Ain't gonna do nothing.
And and let's just say they don't have a dad to call on, or a big brother or uncle that can help them out.
It's a horrible situation, bro.
Yeah.
And with the entitlement on a massive rise, with all of the different things that are going on in society on a massive rise, right? How do you even combat stuff like that? That's what I want to talk about today. I want us to be empowered. I want to give solutions. I want to listen to people who have successfully been able to rid themselves of these situations, not just by the law, but outside of the law. Because to be honest with you, the law's process on this is kind of a joke. Oh,
yeah, the law is a joke.
Yeah, it's kind of a joke. Listen, my name is Byron, real estate investor out of Houston, Texas, primarily focused on the wholesale space, do a little bit of creative finance, fix and flip, new construction, new to the build to rent space. Excited about that. Extremely excited about that. Also proud owner of First Choice Development, and where we help people take their property ideas of new construction to actual new construction. So if you're in the Texas area, Houston, Texas area, and you're looking to do some new construction or do a massive rehab, anything of the sort, just reach out to me and we will get you an assessment on that property and get that thing done for you at a competitive price and with extremely high quality. So with that being said, it's nothing like having an investor helping you to make better investments from a rehab and new construction perspective. What you think about that, O?
I agree because investors got a different eye when it comes to construction. Got a different eye when it comes to their budget. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to figure out ways how to save money, not how to
Facts.
spend extra money. Most
Facts.
regular contractors don't, they don't care about your money.
No.
So they're recommending all kind of shit. So I know investors that's also contractors recommend the best option for this situation. The best cost efficient option that still makes sense long term, not just man, this is easy for me to put up, but it costs way more. No, 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 no. We need the best option that's gonna last, that's cost effective.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? These contractors be like, man, go with this option because it's the easiest option. Fuck that.
Yeah, you got to do what's the best option.
Yeah.
Best
So we
option,
want to
best
go the
option
best
always.
Option. Yeah. So the best option may be a little harder for them to do, may cost a little mid-level, but it's gonna last 10 to 20 years rather than doing the cheapest thing that's gonna last 2 years and
Facts.
shit again.
We're gonna have to do a show on that. We're gonna have to do a show on that one day. Oh, even if it's just a short show where we talk about some of the investments that you can make in a property that even if it don't look all that great, right? But it'll last you a whole lot longer. It'll prevent you from having to do excessive rehabs and renovations every time, somebody move in and out of the property. We need to do a show on that, oh.
I agree. Because a lot of people be buying, they be, overspending money on things for no reason.
For no reason, bro. No reason.
Or they want to go to let me get the cheapest thing they got. Shit just keep on breaking.
Yeah.
And you start blaming everybody else except yourself.
Yeah.
Cheap ain't always good, especially if you try to do something long term like a rental. You don't always want to get the cheapest. Keep on breaking. But anyway, O'Neill Parker, real estate investor, entrepreneur out of Lafayette, Louisiana. Been investing in real estate since 2016. Full-time entrepreneur since 2020. Do all things real estate, primarily focused on rentals and passive income. And I'm also the owner of Leverage to Wealth, teaching people how to leverage where they are in their life and their business to get wealth in real estate. That is me.
No doubt. We got a hell of a show today, man. And man, it's really kind of low key sad the way that worked out for old girl, huh?
Yeah, it's sad, but at the same time, it's a great learning moment.
Yeah.
It's a great learning moment for her, and it's a great learning moment for us, and it's a great learning moment for the audience.
Absolutely.
Typically, people that's just getting into real estate or people that's been in real estate a while and never dealt with this situation, we don't think about, what if I have a squatter? What I'm gonna do? You got to be honest. I ain't never thought about it until it happened to me. Have you thought about it before it happened to you?
Nah, hell nah. Wasn't even worried about it.
So it's good to be prepared for any test before the test can come. So that's what we're here to talk about today. If this happens, do this. If a squatter start, do it on kind of, I'm talking about paying property tax, start fixing the property. How do you protect yourself and make it the easiest way possible to get these people out of your property? So that's what we're here to talk about today. We're here also to talk about experience that other people had, what they went through. Some people even got arrested, being at their own property that they own. You know what I'm saying? So we talking about how to stay out of jail, how to get your property back the easiest and safest way, so you ain't got to bring out no gun, you ain't got to fight, you ain't got to punch the squad in the mouth. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to
burn the house down. All that kind of crazy.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about the safest way you can get your property back. We're gonna talk about how to set yourself up to get your property back before it even happens. We're gonna talk about it, man, because I think that's important for us. It's important for the community to have as much valuable information to take action when these things do happen. Because let's just be honest, it may happen to you, especially if you're not doing the things that we're going to talk about. If you're not visiting your property on the regular, like I'm talking about at least once a week, this will happen to you because homelessness is on the rise, and these guys need houses, bro.
Absolutely.
Like Section 8 people, they need some houses. and homeless people go find a house.
Yeah, bro. It's ugly. It is ugly. Look, I want to kick it off, and I just kind of want to play this video, man. Let me see something here. If I can find it. Let me see if we can find that joint, man. I want to play this video, man, because this right here, you can go ahead. Oh, while I wait, I go grab this joint.
Yeah, one more time.
I said you could go ahead while I grab this here.
Oh, gotcha. So while we on here, man, I think it's important that everybody look up their squatter laws because every state is different. You know, some states is cool. They'll just go ahead and kick them out. The cops remove them. Some states is civil. So they're like, man, we can't really do nothing about it. You got to go to court. So I think everybody here needs to actually get familiar with the squatter laws in the area. Some states is a little bit harder than others. Some cities a little harder than others. But again, if you're on top of it before it happens, you'd be in a better off position. Has anybody dealt with squatters before? Put a one in the chat if you dealt with them. And good morning, everybody. Good morning. We got Bam Bam. We got Lady Red. We got Larry. Lady B. How y'all feeling this morning?
Okay, let me see something. This is crazy. Let me see. Hold on 1 second here.
Bam. I handled it in a good way. Not really the right way. How you handled it, Bam? How y'all handle it? If y'all can, man, come to the stage and talk to us about it real quick. That'd be nice. What a lady.
Yeah.
I'm trying to hear what y'all did, man.
Yeah. Cause it's a way to do it, man.
Y'all know where you did it at?
Let me see something. Hold on, let me play it real quick. There we go. All right, let's see here. Check this out, man. Tell me how you would feel. This lady in the process of selling her property. She's in order to just give you some context. In the process of selling her property, and you go to the property to see what's going on with the property, and you find out
the police department doesn't have the lease?
No.
He's got no documentation.
Just bills.
So Adele, you're getting arrested right now?
I'm being arrested
For what?
for being in my own home.
So, peep this out. My Jesus. This is horrible.
I don't know the law. Yeah, there's laws. You shouldn't be trying to steal my house. Yes, you are.
Uh-oh.
How about that? A squatter standoff. A property owner confronts a group of people she says moved into her $1 million home in Queens, and our cameras were rolling as dozens of officers showed up.
Several people were taken away in handcuffs, and one of those arrested may surprise you.
Investigative reporter Dan Krauth joins us now with more on what happened. Tell us, Dan.
Well, this is a very big growing problem. I received dozens of tips from viewers about this in just the past week. I went to do what I thought was going to be a routine interview. Instead, we capture what police and property owners are dealing with on a daily basis.
I have video of you.
Who are these people?
Out the situation.
Yeah, but they're in my house, man.
Relax.
No.
To understand how this day ended,
We need the police.
Look at how entitled. Look at the entitlement on this guy's face. Like he's legit. This guy's legit looking at the woman, looking at everybody. The reporter's like, yo, like, who is this in my house? Like, yo, like, he really like that guy. Like, look at him. He's bold. He's bold in his abuse.
And man,
Like,
this is my shit.
he say this is mine. He paid one mortgage, one rent payment. This lady is in the process of trying to sell her home so she can move on to do bigger and better things. Imagine being in a situation where you're trying to sell your property you own deed to. Somebody is in your house telling you that you need to get out of your house that you pay for. Imagine that. I just want you to just put yourself in the mindset. We ain't even thinking from an investment standpoint, right? Because nobody feels sorry for investors. I feel sorry for investors because I'm an investor and I understand that these are the types of things that jump into jump in as obstacles that block you from being able to move forward and whatever you're trying to do. And nobody deserves this. But imagine this lady is not an investor. She knows nothing about how to navigate certain situations like this. She's just a homeowner, has a house she's looking to sell, can't sell it, right? We had another instance in Atlanta where it was a lady that was an Army veteran. Listen to me now. She's an Army veteran and she's looking to sell her property so she can move on because, you know, Army people, they move. They move and do things. And she can't sell her house because there was a squatter in her house.
Hey, bro, you know what I'm thinking about?
What you thinking about?
If you got a house, let's just say you just finished rehab. You put it up for sale. Squatter move in that joint. You can't kick them out. It take you 2-3 months. They fuck this shit up. I'm talking about take the cop out. Take the appliance out, start selling your stuff, bruh. You gotta put all that money back into the house and try to sell it again. You know how much money it is wasted, bro?
Bruh,
that's a lot of money. And guess what? Nobody feels bad. Nobody feels sorry for the investor. But guess what? You could easily lose 30,000, like really more than that, because you lose time. You making payments every month on the interest. And now you gotta rehab a house twice, bro.
Bruh, what's worse is the houses don't have appliances. Where you think they doing the number one and number two at? I got a house right now. I ain't gonna even hold you. Squatters, I don't care about it because I'm tearing it down. But bro, I got a house literally right now, bro. Like I went in there and it was just like a shit bucket. Come on, bro. Like horrible. And it's like, yo, like, I ain't worried about it because the house is gonna be torn down regardless. But just imagine if you didn't renovated a property, somebody that moved in, you don't know how to move to get this person out. So I know, Bam Bam, you say you was recently in a situation where you had to kick out a squatter?
Yeah. We had locked up a property on the assignment. And it was gonna be a $40 bag, so you know, I was ready to get him out. But when we got it, the guy told us they were behind on a couple of payments. He didn't say, you know, they won't leave. It was like they just behind on a couple of payments. They trying to catch up. So we was like, okay, well, we'll see what we can do as far as, you know, give them some cash or keys, help them out, help them leave. They told us you beat. They said we ain't going no damn bus. So we tried to go through it the right way, you know, with filing the paperwork and going to the sheriff's department and, you know, serving them the eviction papers and all that stuff, but that wouldn't work either. So, but I ended up, one of my best friends I grew up with, he knew the people personally. So on like an outside tip, he had hit the guy up. He was like, hey man, you know that dude retarded, right? He was like, man, Bam is like, he got a problem. Like he would really beat you up for no reason. So then he was like, he hyped it up. He was like, man, he really will hurt you. Like you messing with his money and stuff. but I didn't tell them to do it. As I said, it wasn't the right way, but it worked because like the next 2 days we went by there to check on it. They packed up in the middle of the night and left. So it worked out.
I will be honest with you, Bam Bam. I've had very similar experiences with squatters. I've only had one squatter that has given me like a lot of headache. And I end up spending quite a bit of money on that squatter because he was homeless and he kind of knew a little bit about the law, right? And so that was my only rough experience. I think we ended up spending about, bro, we spent at least $5 or $6 grand getting, because it was trash. So we had to remove thousands of dollars worth of trash. Bro, I don't know how these people brought that much trash. Matter of fact, at some point in the show, I'm gonna pull that squatter up. I got pictures of that squatter. Yeah, that squatter was bold. You hear me? He was
That one right there,
bold.
once we got him out and they started renovations, they found a damn meth lab in the basement.
Come on, bruh. Come on, bruh. Come on, bruh. So it's a real growing problem. I just want everybody to kind of know that this is a problem. And what's so cool about it is that the laws are not going to help you. Listen, the cops in our situation, we call the cops, right? Call the cops. Cops tell us, man, I don't know what to tell you, you know? And then, you know, I got a little aggressive. I told them, look, man, they're on my property. I got my weapon with me. You know, this can get ugly. I tell the cops this face to face. They say, okay, well, we're going to take him. This is the logic in this. Until I got, you know, beside myself, they weren't willing to do nothing. Nothing. No remedies. So what they did was they said, okay, well, you know what? They pick him up, right? And what they do is they act as if they're going to arrest him and they drive him around the corner and drop him off.
Damn.
A couple hours later, he walking up.
Right back.
Right back. Matter of fact, he on a bike. He pulled back up on a bike. So he done stole somebody else's bike on his journey back from around the corner. Yo. And once the laws let him go, the boldness, that's when I started dealing with the boldness. Because he was like, yo, like the laws are not even finna take me in right now. You know? So I want to talk about the proper legal way to deal with this first, right? So I want everybody in here to understand what the legal proper, quote unquote, proper way to take care of this is. That way we can start there. And then I want to talk about some of the alternative methods, right, that Bam Bam has used, that I have used as well. And they've all worked. But I want to tell you the legal proper way. So I don't want anybody to take any of this information as advice as to what you should do. I'm not telling you to do any of this stuff. So first thing first, I'm not telling you to do none of this stuff. Shout out, we got a Najee in the building. I'm talking about the legal way to proceed in these situations. So number one is you need to understand the law. Okay, you need to understand the law in your state. They are different in different places. The laws are different in different places. So you have to understand the squatter laws in your state. I know in our state, you have to be very careful. There's a lot of qualifications for someone in Texas to consider themselves a squatter. So anytime you're dealing with somebody who is occupying your property, the last thing you want to do is call that person a squatter. The last thing you want to do is call that person a squatter in Texas if they haven't met all of the qualifications that it takes to become an official squatter. Because every single cop is not going to help you. The moment you get to putting the word squatter into the conversation, they're done. Hands up, mow it. It's done, right? And then you have number two. You have to serve an eviction notice to the squatter. Then you have to file that eviction to that squatter. And then you have to follow the entire legal proceedings to get that person out. But here's the deal. In some states, how long does it take to get somebody evicted? In Texas, we can get them out of there quick.
About 30 to 90 days.
Right? But in other states, it's different. So, Anaje, what man? I don't know if you saw the video. We played it earlier.
Oh, yeah.
What's your thoughts on this? And do you anticipate this becoming more and more of a growing issue?
Oh, yes.
Not only for investors, but homeowners as well.
Oh, I think it's absolutely going to become a growing issue because we have a massive income inequality in this country. Rents are rising. People just flat out can't afford it, right? So, you know, I've had more issues with tenants over the last 3 years than I had the previous 14. Like,
wow.
I've done more 3-day notices, more evictions than those previous years combined. Now, one thing you said, everything was right except one thing I want to clarify, and this is huge. Couple things just, and you know, again, my commentary is going to be from a perspective on how to protect your property as a landlord. So number one, you said something really, really smart. Don't ever say the word squatter. Always say the word trespasser. That's number one. Okay, if you feel like you have an issue, you're going to use the word trespasser at all times. Okay, how to protect your property. Also, you know, knowing your state law. Now, here's a big one, because everybody keeps talking about squatters' rights. And here's the real question. At what point do they become a squatter? Because squatters essentially have tenant rights. At what point do they become a squatter in your state or a tenant? That's the real question. So in Texas, it's 28 days. That's where you need to understand. And it's legal in Texas to remove a squatter forcibly, but without deadly intent. That's written in the Texas code. So understanding that first. Now, some of y'all may know me, you know, I'm real professional at times and sometimes I'm not. Okay, but that don't mean illegal either, right?
Yeah.
So be real clear what we're talking about. And if you don't mind, I'll go in. I really want
go
people, to understand how to protect their property. So number one, I'm with you 100%, Byron. You got to know the state law in your area, right? And a lot of people go right into evictions and all of that. I want people to go in very, very early from day one. So number one, look, know your state law. Number two, stop leaving y'all properties empty as hell. Right? Empty property is a problem property, not just because of squatters, but because, you know, a water could bust, you get mold all over the place. Empty properties are problems. So get in there, do your rehab, and get it rented. All y'all that own property in grandma's name and all that, stop having these properties sit for years and years and years, and you're not driving by. Right? Why? Especially once the property becomes empty and you have intent on actually being an investor with this property, then you need to be going by regularly, right? Don't be trusting other people. Well, somebody moved in, right? Blah, blah, blah. When did they move in? So here's the magic number. It is 28 days in Texas, typically 30 for a lot of people to establish tenant rights. Okay, that's big. If you have an empty property that you're working on or whatnot, put a no trespassing sign up. That is big. 2 biggest gems.
Take a picture of it.
And take a picture of it. Yes, you will. And timestamp that picture when that no trespassing sign comes up. So now the conversation is always around this person being a trespasser. Here's the sign up. Here's the date that I put it up. Right? Big to do. Additional preventive. See, this is preventive squatting. This is how you prevent somebody. That's second. A third one, and this is again big gem, right? Is that you want to actually write a lease in someone else's name, or your name, or your wife's name, or your kid's name, or something, right? So let's say Onaje Barnes LLC owns the property, right? I could write a lease in Onaje Barnes's personal name. Right. So what this does is this establishes tenancy for myself.
Facts.
I have a written lease that has notarized, so I have proof of this lease. Okay. Now here's the dope part. So somebody says, hey, I got a lease, I got whatever. Well, hey, Mr. Constable guy that don't know the law, because most constables and most police officers actually don't know the law at all. And they definitely don't know the 28-day thing. I run around my truck with the whole 28-day law because I have short-term rentals. So if I got a tenant, a short-term rental person that's staying there beyond 10 days, let me tell y'all something. One, I do have a no trespassing sign up. Two, I don't have to call police. That's a whole nother one. I'm not calling police after 28 days. You know who I'm calling, Byron?
Who that?
Pookie and them. You know what I'm saying? Hey,
Pookie and them.
Now, I call the upgraded Pookie, right?
Yeah.
Upgraded Pookie that actually has a CHL, right? That I got upgraded Pookie is the bouncer.
Yeah.
And,
they love the smoke. Love it.
Love the smoke. So you know a lot. And how do you find your a Pookie? Right? Go to the local club and find the big bouncer guy. Okay. Oh, they are on my payroll if needed. I got 4 or 5 bouncer type dudes, right? And on the payroll, $150 an hour. I come here and handle this lightweight. Now again, because in Texas it is legal to forcibly remove someone who is trespassing on your property if they have been there less than 28 days.
Man, I never knew that. It's legal.
I might need to start me a Texas trespass removal service.
A lot of this though is in the words you use. So I just want to make sure everybody is understanding, right? He's using some specific words for specific reasons. And you have to move according to what the law allows you to do. So I just feel like we got to overemphasize when you start taking action, your action has to be backed up with specific words and specific understanding as to how the law works. So you want to kind of just give, okay, because I know you giving a lot.
Words, because I'm with you, bro. Like we have to hammer this down for the property owners in the chat.
Yeah.
Or whatever. We want to be real clear, right? We're not talking about tenants. So we're talking about preventive, right? There's 2 steps to this, right? One, how to get rid of someone who is not a tenant who is trespassing on your property. Well, how do we define a non-tenant and a trespasser? One, don't call them that. That's number one, right? 2, you put a no trespassing sign up. 3, we're talking about pre-28 days in Texas, typically 30 days in other states. Okay. So if you ever want to do somebody month to month, I just literally had this last night. I had a guy off of Furnace Finders. Many people know what Furnace Finders is with short-term rentals. I had a guy say, hey, I need a place to stay. I want to go month to month, blah, blah. I said, yeah, we can go 27 days to 27 days. Oh, well, what about 28 days? Well, I'll just reduce the price. I don't care what it is, but you're not renting this place beyond 28 days unless you want a formal lease and background check and all that. If you want to be treated like a short-term rental guest, 27 days. If not, let's go get a lease, background, blah, blah. Okay. Now, why is always getting a lease important? You got to get a lease, and if you suspect there's any probability that this person could stay past 28 days, then you need somebody's name to serve in court potentially, right? That's why you got to get some type of rental agreement, ID, whoever, so you actually know who you need to serve this 3-day eviction to or 3-day notice to, right? So let's just start again. Number one, we're not calling them tenants. We're not calling them squatters. Right? These are trespassers because you have a no trespass sign up that costs $3 from Amazon that you could get.
Hold on, Najee. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So within your lease, right? And you said they can't stay past 28 days contractually. But what if they do and they breach that contract after the 28 days in that lease? Are they now considered trespassers after that 28 days if they stop paying? Or are they considered now just in breach of contract and maybe considered squatting?
Yeah, that's a great question. So start with the intention on the situation, right? So if you allow someone to stay in your house, right, and you need to understand how long you want them to stay in your house. Right. So if they still telling you that they want to stay past a month, then you need to make sure you have a lease. If they're telling you that they want to stay less than a month, like in this scenario, then you don't necessarily need a lease, but you need to definitely have the ID and all this kind of stuff. And to be real clear, right? If they're staying, let's say there's 20, the legal law definition of tenant rights in Texas kick in at 28 days. So I operate a boutique hotel short-term rental. If they are staying if I feel like they're going to stay past 27 days, right? That's when you can forcibly remove them. If it's past 28 days, then you cannot forcibly remove them. Then tenant rights kick in. Then the normal eviction procedures kick in. Then that's where you initially send a 3-day demand letter in Texas, right? And that basically says 3 days to evict, 3-day notice. That's what they call 3-day notice, right? You send them a 3-day notice. Hey, I need you to leave by this time. Okay, they ignore the 3-day notice. All right, and now once the tenancy has been established after 28 days, what I'm talking about applies to everybody. Okay, that whether it's 28 days or 5 years, they could have been there 5 years. Now, what I'm talking about applies to everybody because they are now considered a tenant in the state of Texas. So prior to 27 days, they could be anybody staying in your joint. You can call them a trespasser. Past 28 days, they're a squatter or they're a tenant, or there's someone in your house that you must legally now use the civil court system to get rid of them out of your property. Okay, so what does that look like? Again, for us, that looks like starting with a 3-day notice to vacate. Okay, you submit the 3-day notice to vacate, which again, this is key. How you actually send this notice. Now, this is super key because now you're dealing with the JP court in Texas. Texas is one of 8 states that have JP courts where the judges don't necessarily have law degrees.
Whoa.
Now, if you've ever gone through eviction court in Texas, you might realize something. You may not have realized this, that every eviction court judge in Texas, depending upon the area and the zip code, might have different rules in their courtroom. Why is that? Because they ain't got no law degrees. They don't know what the hell they doing.
Make that make sense real quick.
It don't make no sense to me, but I know the law. And so what over time we know all of the JP court judges in all of our zip codes. And it's a pain in the ass because each court, and we literally got a file on each judge to know what's legal and what's not legal in their court. So now I bring this up. Why do I bring this up? Because each judge interprets how the notice should be given differently. Ain't that a you know what, right? So again, some judges require you to just hand over and put it in the mail. Other judges require certified mail. Other judges, you must prove that they actually received it. Okay. Other judges say you just put it outside their door. Right. So for us, a matter of policy, depending upon the situation, we will actually enter the premises because in our lease says that we can always enter the premises for mandatory repairs and notices. That's in our lease. You heard the last part, and notices. So it is a notice to vacate. So we can enter the premises of your domicile or our property, put the 3-day notice, take a picture of it inside the unit. That applies to about half the judges in Texas. And then the other half is just kind of regular, is okay. I don't recommend, here's what I don't recommend, putting a red tag or notice on the door saying I notified them, because a good chunk of the judges will not validate that. Really, you should always pretty much do a certified mail, which might also delay your 3-day process. But either way, because certified mail does not have to prove that they received it. It just shows that you actually sent it. So you're good there. Keep your receipt. So that's number one. Make sure that you'll notice, because there's inconsistencies with the judges. Look up your state. There's about 8 states that does not require these types of judges to even have a law degree, which means these judges don't know what they're doing. Byron and O'Neill, if y'all know Houston a little bit, there's one particular judge. She's been all over the place. She's just an elected official. She board. She was on this board. She was on city council. How you on school board and on the civil court?
It's just all over the place. She want to do with her career.
Yeah, she's moving up.
Texas is its own country. I swear I believe that. It's its own country.
But hold on, there's 8 other states that operate this way, Darby. So that's wild. Okay. Then that next step, right, is you then, after 3 days, you can then file for eviction. Typically, once you file, you should get an eviction court date in Texas between 14 and 21 days. You should get a court date. Okay. Then you go to court, you prove your evidence that this person has violated the lease and or squatter or whatever. Hey, I want them to be removed. The law is on your side. Byron, I think the biggest issue that people have with this is that they actually really don't know the law. And so people have all these fears about the drama or whatever. But, you know, I didn't really have evictions my first 12, 13, 14 years. Now we do them suckers. No problems. Clockwork. We ain't playing around, right? So 21 days, you should get to court date. You go to court, depend upon your justice of the peace, whether they know the law, they don't know the law. The ones that know the law, this gonna be bang bang. The ones that don't, they might, you know, be on the side of the people and act like I ain't the people myself, right? They version of the people is the elected person, right? So that person I was joking about that was on the school board, yeah, she loves, right, to help her constituents, right? And it's more of them as renters than there are homeowners like myself, right? So just be prepared for that. They might try to delay you on the technicality here. There's always going to be people in the back of the courtroom, the pro bono attorneys that will help the tenant through loopholes against a homeowner. Y'all can check my YouTube out. I got my actual lawyer friend who is a pro bono attorney who actually gives me a lot of this information or whatever. So that's huge. All right. So after that, the judge is either going to side in your favor or don't side in your favor. If they don't side in your favor, here's another gem. You can choose to go back to court whenever they tell you to go back in court, right? Or you can file an appeal. A lot of people don't know this. You and the tenant could file an appeal if it don't go your way. Now check this out. When you go to the appellate court, you must now actually be required to have a lawyer at the appellate court. Why? Because you're actually in front of a real judge now. So the appellate court are real judges with law degrees. And those courts are bang, bang, bang. Either you pay your rent or you didn't pay your rent. Either you paid the list or you didn't. Ain't no whole I feel this whatever type of nonsense with these fake judges. Okay? Like, ain't none of that. So that's awesome, right? But a lot of people don't want to hire a lawyer. So I tell people all the time, you can get there. But let's keep it real. Most people won't show up to court, okay? Right? 9 times out of 10, if you put a 3-day notice and you get a court date, I would say 7 to 8 times out of 10, the tenant will never show up. If the tenant doesn't show up and you show up, that is bang, bang, side in your favor. We good to go, okay? You are good to go on that level. All right. So if you're good to go and you say, hey, I got my or the tenant shows up and the judge rules in your favor, because you also want to bring your evidence. And you know, I'm talking for a long time, so I'll talk about evidence, you know, when we take a break or when we come back, we'll talk about evidence that you can bring, right? But you have your evidence, make sure you have your evidence, this, that, and the other, all communication with the tenant. Please stop texting and calling tenants and talking to them as evidence. He said, she said. We should, once situations start going bad, stop calling the tenant. All communication should be through formal communication. Formal communication should include email, number 1. Number 2, a cell phone or a phone number that is not your personal cell phone number. Ooh. Byron, why do you think I said no personal cell phone numbers?
Man, that's a good question. I want to hear.
No personal cell phone numbers, because that is evidence someone in a discovery of a lawsuit could pull all your cell phone records. This is why having lawyers on your team is important.
Elaborate.
You know, look, I get my information on research, but I also talk to real lawyers, y'all. A lot of people talking about they be anti-lawyer. That's why you have a good lawyer on your team sometimes, just at least as consultation. That's huge. Now, fellas, let's be honest. I ain't gotta say no more than that. Do I gotta say any more than that?
I can see that being a little problem. Yeah. I can see that being a little problematic for some people.
That could be problematic. So always understand that any evidence that you submit as evidence could always be used as discovery on the other side. Okay, always remember that. Right? Big lawsuits by big people right now in the news.
You be up there looking like Fannie Willis with the gorilla grip. Yo.
That was it. That's called discovery. That right there was put in discovery. That's exactly why all of her information was put out there. That specific gorilla grip comment was because it was hilarious too. I was like, whoa, she got that.
She got the gorilla grip. My Jesus. Whoa, what is that?
What is that?
What situation is that?
Yeah, everybody was like, after that trial, Fannie was up on him.
She might as well blast to her OnlyFans if they
yeah, man, gorilla grip classes in session. My Jesus.
Yeah,
listen. Wow.
That right there, man. I ain't gonna front. I mean, one of my good frat brothers, that's a lawyer, he put me on that. He said, "Stop texting your tenants or whatever." So what do you mean? Get you a Google Voice number. Get you a VoIP number. Get you some type of number that you want to talk to them. And once the situation starts going sideways, once they start ghosting you, then you start emailing everybody. Email everybody, right? Copy everybody. If you got Section 8 tenants, copy their case manager. I'm big on it. I'm copying all of everybody's case manager. I'm copying everybody. I'll let everybody know you're a whole damn problem, right? I love it. So, couple things on preventive, guys. I skipped one preventive thing. You can also contact the utility company, put the utilities in your name, and put a notification on if anybody tries to change the utilities out of your name. That's a big one too, just on preventive. So let's go back to this eviction thing, right? So you had 21 days. You want to present your evidence, right? If this is a legit tenant, number one thing that's not paying, which is the number one cause for eviction, right? Real tenants that don't pay. Right, and then they become squatters. Number one, you need to have a lease ledger. When did they make their payments and when did they don't? Now, lease ledger might sound complicated. For me, I have my software that produces my lease ledger. For the layman guy, all you need to do is just make an Excel file for yourself. Go through your Cash App or your Zelle. Go figure out the dates that they paid. Boom, boom, boom. Just literally type it up on a lease ledger. Shows that you credit the account and you debit the account. That hey, every month that they owe another $1,000 and they pay $800. Now they owe $200, and you just keeping a track of it. This should take 5 minutes to do, 10 minutes. Shouldn't take long to put together, right? But that should be crucial evidence that you use in the court case, right? Along with all communication, all whatever that he says, she says on the phone stuff, that's not evidence. You can't prove anything. You see what I'm saying? So let's be professionals and prove stuff. So once you get the property, the judgment in your name, okay, then according to that judgment, the judge might give them a couple more days to get out, blah, blah, or they should be getting out that second. I had an issue literally a month ago where, the lady had basically, she went to court and we had a court date and she wasn't trying to pay or any of that kind of mess. And she was a whole headache. We had tons of evidence against her, right? So she comes to court and said, hey, judge, I moved out. And the judge was like, well, did she move out? And we have no knowledge of that, judge. And up to our, we was by there at least by 5 o'clock the previous day and she was still there. Oh, I moved out at 8 o'clock. Judge, I can't prove that. Oh, okay. Well, so she tried to scam us. She was still there, right? So she just flat out lied to the judge. Okay. Judge sides in our favor. Judge say, hey, well, you need to be out. We go back that she was like, oh, I'm moving tonight, today, blah, blah. She was still there. Oh, judge said I got till Saturday. Ma'am, you still there. So here's the problem. That's where now you take the judgment and depending upon the area and the municipality and the judgment itself, you might have in Texas, you might have somewhere between 3 and 7 days where you can then go file what they call a writ of possession. Okay. A writ of possession is where you now have a judgment and you go to the constable, right, to enforce the judgment. That's what a writ of possession essentially is, the constable enforcing the judge's judgment, right? And that's where they come and knock on your door. The police is come and knock on your door at 6 a.m. or 4 a.m. and say, hey, come get up out this property. Now, here's what's, yeah, now we know about that, right? Now, here's what's crucial. In my opinion, I always suggest that you show up with your locksmith at that moment. The key to this game is always getting possession. Possession is 9/10 of the law. Did we all grow up learning that word, that phrase? Possession is 9/10 of the law, because it is. Whoever's possessing this property has this situation. That's whole squatters' rights type of deal. This is actually called adverse possession nationwide. That's the formal term of
absolutely
steal your property through possession. Okay, and so what we want to do is always maintain possession. So first thing first, I will go ahead and get that locks changed once you get them forcibly removed. Move all that shit out. Don't be lazy. Get that crap out that day, because there's also rules around you essentially being a damn storage facility, right? So you don't want no reason for them to come back, no reason for them to say, oh, they got my property. No, your shit is on the curb. You can come get your shit. Okay. So for me, once we have the writ of possession, don't think the police are your goon squad. They're not moving anything for you. They're not doing it. All they're doing is literally moving this person 2 feet, right, from inside the door to outside the door. That's all they doing. So you need to have your goon squad or your whoever
your upgraded pookies,
your pookie in them, or your movers, or whoever you want to call it, right? I'm joking, I always call it my goon squad, just to let people know how I get down if we need to get down, right? But to be real, have your locksmith there, have your movers, right? So as the police is there, once they give you the okay, you're starting to move their stuff. Don't touch my stuff, blah, blah. Well, man, hey, look, you can come move. You can hire some movers yourself to touch your shit. But
absolutely,
stuff is in my property, and I have a legal judgment to remove it, and we hitting it on the curb. Okay.
I want to highlight something real quick, because this is critically important. Because, you know, a lot of times it's a lot of buzzwords around passive income.
Yeah, this ain't passive.
Yeah. Passive income. Let me explain something to you about passive income. You know, matter of fact, put a number 1 in the chat if any of the information that you just heard right now sound passive to you. if any of the information sounds passive to you, put a number 1. If it does not sound passive, put a number 2 in the chat right now, because we going somewhere with this. If what you just heard right now does not sound passive, put a number 2 in the chat. If it do sound passive to you, put a number 1 in the chat, because this is important. I really want to kind of break down some uncomfortable myths about business, about choosing a side. You know, that's one thing I like about what Welby says. Hopefully we can get Welby in here later to talk about today. And the reason why this is so important is because when you enter this business thing, no matter what business it is, it can be an easy business. And I consider, you know, rental real estate more on the easier side of businesses, right? A lot of people would agree that it's an easier business, but that does not mean passive, as people like to tout. Because if you go into it with the mindset of passive, are you going to have systems in place to be able to break down all of the things that Anaje just so eloquently broke down? If you go into the business thinking that you just going to get passive income, this is just mailbox money, I ain't got to do nothing for it. Now, I ain't going to lie to you. I got some mailbox money that comes in with no flaw. I got that, me personally, right? I got that. I got mailbox money. I don't deal with nothing, right? Nothing. It just works. Thank God for those people and thank God for those situations. But I can tell you this, just because that happens does not mean that you can't be, you don't have to position yourself, because we see a lot of tools in the chat now. See a lot of tools. you don't have to position yourself to be prepared to take things to that next level or have systems in place to take things to that next level, because your passive business can become an immediate headache overnight if you are confused about picking a side. If you're a business owner, you need to move like a business owner no matter what, period. I just want to put that out there. What's your thoughts on that, Anaje, about this whole passive income thing?
Sorry, I had the mic off. Yeah, no, you're right. Look, real estate, I call real estate semi-passive, right? It's not really passive at all. You got to stay on game, because you could have a great tenant that's been great for 8 or 9 years, and then life start happening to them and it starts snowballing, and now you got problems, right? I've had a tenant for about 10 years in Mo City. She was I won't say fantastic, but she was a pretty solid tenant for most of those years. The last year has been really, really rocky, right? So to me, I'm very big on staying ready, right? We got to stay ready for all comers, you know what I'm saying? And as you start to grow and scale, and the type of property will also dictate it. Here's one, a lot of, this is how you know somebody ain't really, don't do what they say they're gonna do. A multifamily tenant and a multifamily property versus a single family property and tenant are not the same. The tenants are not the same. A multifamily tenant is absolutely going to be less passive than a single family tenant on average, right? The nature of the people that stand in the apartments themselves versus a house, just the mere fact that you're sharing walls, things of that nature, right? I can tell you right now, again, people, multifamily is better than single family. I know it's not. It's two different businesses, okay? If you got 4 single family properties versus a 4-plex, I can tell you with certainty that the 4 single families are way easier to manage than the 4-plex, right? Multifamily is just better on scaling and having one location and things of that nature. That's what makes it better, but not necessarily the management of it, right? There's aspects that gets better. So I'm with you 100%, right? Like, you just kind of got to stay ready. People are always, and it's not even about payment. I think people get hung up about payment way too much, right? People get hung way too much about payment. What about Keisha moving in her baby daddy?
Ooh.
Right? But or here's a real one that I've dealt with, right? We had to kind of put we're gonna call it Keisha or whatever, but this is a real one we've dealt with over the last few weeks, right? Her baby daddy was in jail, and while he's in jail, you know, Keisha do Keisha things, right? You know, we smile. Yeah. So while he's away, Keisha gonna play. All right. Now, this ain't my business until
Yeah. You just reporting the news. I get it.
Reporting the news, okay?
Yeah.
So how do I know that Keisha doing Keisha things? Because he got out early, and he pulled up to go see his baby, you know, and Keisha, because he hard up, you know, he been in jail for a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he done messed around and found out.
And he messed around and found out. Now we have some domestic issues and arguing, and dudes are coming back and forth, and current dude is laying claim on Keisha, and the old dude is laying claim on Keisha, and meanwhile Keisha's having fun every other night of the week. Okay, so now we got issues because now y'all disturbing my complex. Now you put me in your business. Then, of course, all of a sudden, and this literally happened. I got a text message on this. This happened 3 days ago. You know, so we had a conversation with her about her situation. Oh, I'm breaking up with him, this, whatever. We ain't gonna have no more issues. Okay, cool. And then 3 days later, this literally happened, like, I think 3 days ago. She hits us up. Hey, I came home and my door was wide open. Y'all need to change whatever my locks, or whatever. No, ma'am. I'm gonna change the locks if that's okay. No, it's not okay. Our guy is gonna change the locks because we will always maintain keys to our property. Big one. Okay. I just talked to a landlord. He got 8 units and don't own no keys to none of his properties. I talked to the landlord yesterday. I talked to the landlord yesterday. He got 8 properties and don't have no keys to his property.
No keys to his own stuff.
How that happen? So, and you asking for people, you asking for it. So again, We changed the locks ourselves. She was like, "Oh, it's gonna cost more money, or whatever." And I like to save some money and change my lock myself. That's not my problem. You
Facts.
decided to give your keys to somebody else that allegedly broke in. Stop lying. You ain't nobody break in. Your property is the door off the hinges. Show me that the frame is broke. That's called breaking in, right? So again, part of the issue is ultimately her boyfriend was never on the lease and he was staying with her past 10 days. So for me, that's one of my big ones that I tell people to enforce. If you have anybody over 18, a cousin, a daughter, a son, a boyfriend, whoever, the girlfriend, whoever is staying past 10 days, don't need to be staying past 10 days in your lease. They always cause problems. They always cause problems one day, unless, again, they need to be on the lease. That means you run a background check. She could have a perfect record. She could be a nurse. She could be making a bunch of money. She could have a great credit, all that. A lot of these
Beto,
they love Pookie. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these super professional women, they got
that's a fact.
They got everything together, but boy,
nothing does them better than a trash ass Negro.
Yeah.
Pookie the pretzel man.
The pretzel man. Boy, let me tell you. That pretzel man be something else. He can't get nothing together. He can't put 2 and 2 together and make 4. It's gonna always come out 6 or 8. You know what I mean? Weird numbers like that. 3. You know, like that's what he gonna do every single time. But for whatever reason, she make a bunch of money and she love this man. She love this man. I want to pivot real quick. I want to know what's the Darby, have you ever dealt with a squatter situation in North Carolina?
Yes, sir.
What do you know anything about them laws over there? I got Welby in the building.
So somewhat, because I have an attorney that deals with it. But down here in North Carolina, you can actually be a tenant after 14 days within quote unquote reason, what they call it. So if you're there within 14 days and you have a substantial amount of property in your and when I say property, I'm going to do air quotes. If you have a substantial amount of property in there, you are kind of a tenant. But if you haven't had a utilities bill in your name past 28 days, then necessarily, you have grounds to be like, okay, you're basically a squatter. So this is why it's kind of hard to have a rental property here in North Carolina if your lease doesn't have that all the right verbiage like Onaje talks about in your lease. So basically, after 14 days, they can claim tenancy.
Boy, listen, we got Welby in the building as well. This is some scary stuff. I'm gonna play this video real quick. Because it's out of control. It's really been out of control. I feel like the laws have not figured out a way to properly manage this issue. And when I tell you that it's a growing issue, a lot of investors, see, here's the thing. A lot of investors already know about this. Like, this is nothing new on our radar. We've already dealt with it. We already seeing it in real time. We're dealing with it boots on the ground. But the problem is most investors don't complain. Most investors, you may see it on an Instagram story. You may see it on like an Instagram post every now and then, but a lot of them are not speaking from the perspective of a victim, right? They're speaking from the perspective of, this is just a part of the business. I got to get this handled, right? This lady here is not an investor. She's not an investor. She's just a regular person looking to sell her property, right? And as a result of her looking to sell her property, she runs into a squatter situation. And I want to highlight this because I believe that a lot of people the laws have not really done anything to mitigate this because it's been mostly an investor's problem. And who cares about investors, right? They just think that we just got infinite amounts of money to just pull out of the hat to throw at people who want to violate and bully the system and take advantage of other people. They think we just got infinite amounts of money to deal with this, so they don't care about us. But I believe, this is just my personal belief, I believe this isn't just the beginning of a bigger issue. This is just the beginning of a bigger issue. And Anaje kind of eloquently pointed that out when he was talking about how this is something that is going to continue to rise because people can't afford the housing anymore, right? And so this is not just going to affect the quote unquote investor anymore. This is going to affect regular people. Let's check this out real quick.
I don't know the law. Yeah, there's law.
Is it playing right now? Let me see. I can't. Okay, yeah. My bad.
You shouldn't be trying to steal my house. Yes, you are.
How about that? A squatter standoff. A property owner confronts a group of people she says moved into her $1 million home in Queens, and our cameras were rolling as dozens of officers showed up.
Several people were taken away in handcuffs, and one of those arrested may surprise you.
Investigative reporter Dan Krauth joins us now with more on what happened. Tell us, Dan.
Well, this is a very big growing problem. I received dozens of tips from viewers about this in just the past week. I went to do what I thought was going to be a routine interview. Instead, we capture what police and property owners are dealing with on a daily basis.
I have video of you.
And this is $1 million house too, by the way. My Jesus.
House, man.
What are y'all doing in New York?
How this day ended
We need the police right away.
with multiple 911 calls and arrests. We have to start at the beginning.
Adele, the hardest question is, how do you say your name?
We met Adele Andaloro outside the home her parents left her in Flushing, Queens. She's in the process of selling it,
No, he loved it.
but she's been locked out. She claims squatters moved in on February 6th and refused to leave.
What's it like being here knowing you can't go inside of your own home?
It's enraging. It really is.
In New York, squatters have rights after 30 days.
By the time that someone does their investigation.
So here's the thing. I don't know how long, and maybe Welby can give us some insight on how long it takes, right? Because I know it probably takes forever, literally, to remove somebody from a property in New York. Imagine you're looking to sell a property and you can't sell your property. So, Welby, how long typically will it take for this lady who has not picked a side? You know, one of your key phrases that you like to use, you got to pick a side if you're going to be in this game. This lady has not picked a side. She's not even in the business per se. What's the likelihood of her getting these people out of her property from a timeline perspective, from your experience in New York?
In New York, it's going to take a minimum of about 18 months on average to get her out. In minimum. I know people that have been attempting to get people out for years in New York, trying to get them out. I have a person that not too far from where I live. This person was living in the house for 11 years. They're trying to get this person out, and he was using the system, hiring attorneys that would be putting in continued motions over and over again, and they took about 11 years to get those people out of that property.
Boy, so she got a long road ahead of her, and she was in the process of selling this property, mind you. And she went to jail trying to get these people out of her own property. Imagine this now.
Well, here's the trick. If you pay attention to what happened with the lady, the police officers don't want to do any work, and the key word that everybody likes to use is that it's a civil matter. So because they're saying it's a civil matter, the police officers are saying we cannot get involved with this. You have to take these people to court. So the people that are doing this, that are professional squatters, know that the length of time it's going to take to get them out by going through the legal process, they'll be living in a place for months, many months, even years before they actually would then have to be legally removed from the property. And that's the problem that's going on across this country. And, our governments know that this is an issue. Our city officials know that this is an issue, but yet they're doing absolutely nothing about it because they don't want to deal with the bigger picture of taking on the responsibility of homelessness and things of that nature. So they want to leave it on to the private sector, which is us, to have to deal with it.
Wow.
These are elected officials, and there's more quote unquote tenants than there are landlords. So it's in their best interest to roll with their constituents. Their constituencies aren't up. There is no national lobby of landlords. The only people that really work on our side is NAR, and they're not landlords and property owners, right? So there's no national lobby to help us lobby for legislation. It's way easier for an elected official to just go on the side of tenants because there's way more tenants than landlords.
And then they want to create the narrative that all landlords are greedy, heartless, and then they now the officials and then of course their constituents are all going against us. But yet, if you look at what the cities are providing or the government housings are providing, nobody wants that. But yet the constituents doesn't give the same amount of pressure to government housing as they are putting it on the private sector, which is wrong.
Wow.
Let me ask y'all this now, real quick. Since she was about to sell her house, and dude moved in there, and I know somebody who did this in Ohio. He had a squatter up in there, and he was rehabbing. He was about damn near done, right? And the squatter wouldn't leave. Of course, in Ohio, they do the same thing. They say, "Oh, this is a civil matter." So what he did is, he, just like what Onaje said, he had a professional pookie move in as well. It made it real uncomfortable, and they ran out. He had two of them moving there. He's like, "All right, I just need y'all to stay in there for about 2 weeks." You know, so he paid them and everything.
Malachi, who builds, y'all know Malachi, he builds. On his builds, you know, we have some guys that they work for us. They're not really all that skilled in the construction, but maybe they got other type of skills.
And you know, the thing is, it's unfortunate for with this lady, she's not about that, right?
Yeah.
So that guy that was talking all that, the squatter popping off and talking all that crap. I promise you, if it's one of us or that other side of the game, he wouldn't be too comfortable staying there too long. Because I've had tenants attempt that, and they have brand new cars parked outside. And I you're not gonna be too comfortable living here. So if that's the type of energy that you're looking for, it's not gonna happen like that. But I did put a video out this morning in regards to some of the things that I've done, and I've told even my mentees to do. One important thing that you should do is create a lease and have it notarized. Have it notarized and stamped lease. Because anybody that's a notary is not going to jeopardize their license and or potential legal ramification stamping on a lease that's not valid. So if you got a lease with a spouse of yours, maybe you put it under one of your elder children's name or family or friend and get a lease and it's stamped and notarized and dated, and you're periodically going through that property, because that's another thing I'm sure this lady did. I'm sure that given the fact that the mother her parents left her at home. A lot of children or of parents that have properties don't want the parents home or don't want the responsibility of ownership. So what happens is that they look at the property as an opportunity to make a whole bunch of money. They just want to cash out. So they're not going through the property. They're not going to make sure that the property is in order. They're just leaving the property standing for months, vacant. Not following up. If the woman was going there periodically, right, and then had a lease notarized weeks prior, months prior, what this gentleman did would never flew. But since the fact she hasn't been going there or anything, now it's her word against this person's word as well.
Gotta pick a side.
Gotta pick a side. And for those people that don't think that they're investors, you are going to be an investor in default. You're an investor so long as you buying real estate. So even if you're buying real estate and it's just a residential home for you and your family, or it's left to you in a settlement or anything of that nature, by default you are an investor. So you need to be involved in what's going on with your property, because these things is getting worse and worse and worse. And now we got immigrants, illegal immigrants, that are being trained by other immigrants on how to go into neighborhoods, identify properties that are vacant. They're going and getting these fake leases or documentations off of Fiverr to then, if and when the owner comes to the property and wants to demand them to be removed, they presenting this crap to the police office.
It's actually guys getting trained on
Yes.
how to squat effectively in
It's
your
all
shit.
over YouTube. It's all over YouTube.
Yeah.
You got to understand, a lot of this is rooted in American history of our
Yeah.
original laws, right? Squat adverse possession was written in because you got to remember, America had a whole lot of homesteading back in the day. Go back to the 1700s and all that. All you had to do was
That's how they stole a lot of black folks' land.
all they had to go do is go put a stake on the ground, say, I'm staking this land, I'm homesteading this land. So a lot of these laws are really, really old. Now they've been updated, but these squatter laws have not been updated recently. From my understanding, Florida just updated an anti-squatting law like literally last week or something like that. So y'all in Florida, y'all are getting some version of protection or whatnot. But as I said, these politicians, I agree with Welby 1,000%. These politicians have no incentive to help the property owner, even though we paying all their salaries.
But think about the low life mindset that these people have. You are low life, don't have nothing going for yourself, and you think because you walk by a property and it's been sitting there vacant, I'm just gonna move in and then I'll spruce it up and I have ownership of it.
Crazy.
You have low lifes in this country that they come up with this attitude, and I'm sure you guys hear this all the time, that, oh, I don't want to buy any real estate or own, because you never truly own the property, you never truly own the land. Whoever believes that, you are foolish. Yes, you do own the land. Yes, you do own the property. But part of being in a capitalistic society is that you have to pay your taxes. Okay?
Facts.
So part of you paying your taxes gives you the luxuries that you like. As, for example, when you open up your faucet and that water's coming into your home, that feels pretty good, right?
Absolutely.
When you using that bathroom and you flushing that toilet, it feels pretty good that you don't have to go into an outhouse, right? So that's part of being in a capitalistic society. So you paying your taxes. So as long as you pay your taxes like every American is supposed to do, yes, you own that property. Yes, it's yours, and you control what goes on with that property.
And you should fight for it.
And you should fight for it. That's right.
For, you know, Welby, I agree with everything you said. The only thing I probably have a slight agreement on, these guys aren't just the only low lives. America, look, in America, it's plenty of people that steal. Stealing is part of our culture if we really be about it, right? Like it really is part. I mean, from you got high level billionaires that steal, right? They just steal, and these people are trying to find a legal way to steal. Adverse possession is on the books in every state. I don't even know why this is still a thing in every state. That's why I say it's an old law. But ultimately, what they're trying to do is they're trying to acquire the property via adverse possession, and they're gonna stick and stay in this property as long as, because at the end of the day, if you, to your point, if you're a low life and you got nothing going on in your life, and you telling me all you got to do is be a headache to someone else for 3 or 4 you can get $1 million. How many people ain't trying to sign up for that?
That's a fact. But in the meantime, you a bum, and you living like a bum. In the meantime, you so proud of yourself that every time a flashlight or a car passes by, you scared and terrified. Oh my God, is this the day I'm gonna get kicked out of a home that I don't own? That ain't nothing to be proud of. That's nothing to be bragging about. And we got people promoting and educating and training people. I know people in my area where I grew up in Queens, New York, that was doing that. And guess what? Every one of those grown-ass men are back living at home in their mother's basement.
Wow.
Every one of them.
They go to the extent to where if anything for rent is listed online, they go into those places and they break into those places and squat there. Whether it's Zillow, rent.com, and so on and so forth.
Bro, that's another one that irks me about landlords. Okay, when y'all are leasing property, this is big. Too many landlords do what they call, and property managers and property managers. They do this thing called go and show. right? Go and show has been really big since the pandemic, where you basically, hey, you call in, I want to see the property, you vet them out, and then you just say, hey, here's the keys to the lockbox. Stop giving out keys to lockboxes and letting people go show properties and you don't know them, right? I'll be honest with you, I don't even let realtors go really show the property without one of my representatives, because I don't know if the realtor is just gonna get a lockbox code to the tenant, right? How many investors of y'all then called? I don't know about y'all as investors, but I haven't been there before when I've seen the property that was listed and the realtor just give me the lockbox code. They didn't do it. They don't know it's a licensed realtor. So who else I'm gonna get a lockbox code to, right? And that right there is another way a lot of owners aren't necessarily protecting your property. I'm very big, like when your property is empty properties are problem properties. If the property is empty, even that you are subject to this type of issue, but you're also subject to something breaking. You're also subject to a water pipe getting busted. You're subject to a lot of different things. And for me, I'm very big on protecting the property. Right. I'll tell you one thing that I had a long project where I knew it was going to be a long project. We put burglar bars up, right? Just mid property, right? You can have a goon squad, right? Especially on guys who do new construction or whatever. Go get you somebody to go stay there, right? There's always a low man on the construction totem pole, right? You know, the low guy that just hang around to clean up because he ain't really got no skills, but everybody trying to on. That guy, that's the guy. Right? There's always a low guy. There's a high guy on the totem pole. There's a low guy on the totem pole. The low guy, go let that, hey, man, you want to make some extra money? I did that for my short-term rental. That was a long project. We just moved the low guy in on the totem pole. Hey, man, come over here and stay for free. Come on over here and stay for free.
So for those people that hate on the property owners, the landlords, whatever lifestyle that the real estate provides us, we work for that shit.
Facts.
It ain't given to us. So for those people that always have something smart ass to say about the property owners, the landlords, why don't you try it sometime? Because most of you will not survive doing this business. The level of responsibility, the level of responsibility that it takes. We are responsible for each and every one of you people that are living in our homes, from you that are leasing to your children and your dogs too. There comes a lot of responsibility that comes with us being property owners. So the reward, what's the reward? The profits that we make from the rents. That's the rewards that we receive for being property owners and taking on these level of responsibilities, because your favorite gurus will never tell you this shit. Your favorite gurus and real estate professionals, so-called real estate professionals, will never share with you this side of the business until you become one. Then you realize how real it gets. So stop hating on us. When I say, and people hate this when I say, property owners, landlords are superheroes. We need to prop up property owners and landlords as superheroes, because we are the standard as to what is quality. It does not come from the city properties or projects and things of that nature, because we already know what type of level exactly. So any level of quality that's being presented comes from the private sector. So we gotta stop being villainized, because that's not what most of us are in here to do. We're here to do good business, treat our tenants properly, treat our properties properly, and then be rewarded for it.
Facts. And we're part of it, and I agree 1,000%, right? We are part of the backbone of this society economically. If people don't have a place to stay, right, we're a place to stay, right? Maslow hierarchy needs, people need food, shelter, water. We provide those.
I know the God put in here, and I wish he'd come up and talk about it, because this is another thing that I'm seeing in the version of squatting, right? And it's these sovereign citizens, right? These people who are saying that they ain't got no, they not a part of the country and all this old stuff right here. I would love to get him to come on, because I actually met one of these people at an Airbnb. It was disgusting. I had a conversation with the guy. His whole goal was like, yo, like, really and truly, I get this. This really is my property. Dude really believed this, because he believes he's not a U.S. citizen. And as a result, he moves into people's Airbnbs And depending on how he feel about the Airbnb, he really be like, yo, I'm gonna take this Airbnb. Like,
Can I tell you something, Byron? This is why America is not perfect. Let's be clear. America is not perfect. I don't care what anybody say. This is the greatest country on this planet for opportunities. It's not perfect, but it's the greatest country on this planet. Now, just think about what you just said. The only reason why that person said that and believed that is because we're a country of laws, right? And then we abuse the laws. Why don't you go and try that shit in China? Why don't you go to Afghanistan and try that shit? Go to Jamaica or go to Haiti or go to anywhere else and try that shit. You come to a country that's filled as a country of laws, so you abuse that, right? So that's why when you hear these people with this crap, long-term play, where they at? They're the ones on the corner selling oils, right? They're the ones on the corner selling oils and books, talking about bra man this, bra man that. Get
Try that
out of
shit in
here.
them other countries, you'll be one of those censored videos on damn Twitter.
You know what I'm saying? Right? Exactly. So exactly. So the same country that gives you the greatest opportunity, the same way when you hear all these people, I gotta say this, and I'm off this, right? The same way you got people promoting people to start investing in Dubai or start investing in Africa and start investing in all these other countries. What they don't tell you is you gotta make the money here.
Facts.
The same country that you're talking crap about, you got to make the money here to be able to invest it over there.
Facts.
So how dare you talking shit about us? Are you serious?
Yo, facts. The God, I want to get the God in here because he brought up the sovereign citizens. I'm literally looking at a property, right? And matter of fact, I was out with Brian. We met a guy that was quote unquote the sovereign citizen, and he was telling us how he getting ready to really kind of run a play on this Airbnb. And this lady just started the Airbnb, just picked up the property, and he was about to try to run the play on taking a joint. The God, what's your understanding of this sovereign citizen thing? Let's talk about it.
So it's a group of people called, well, first of all, peace to everybody. I'm happy y'all having this conversation. I'm actually going right now to go to court to try to get somebody evicted out of a property that my mother inherited right now. Wow. But as far as the sovereign citizen thing, it's a group of people called the Moors, and they actually say that, they don't have to pay taxes. They're just sovereign citizens, and they can just go inside of a property and they can just take possession of it. And I seen people actually go to court and actually try to say these things in court, and the judge is looking at them like they crazy.
Yo, it's a real thing. But what they getting, bro, is the Airbnb folk, because it's some kind of way that they know how to do it. It's harder to do it on a regular property, but they going after the Airbnb investor.
Why, Byron? I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Number one, and this is what I'm big about, because y'all know I post about Airbnb short-term rentals a lot, because frankly, I hate most of these coaches. These guys are coaching people on Airbnb and how to do things, and they're not telling them shit about the law. They don't know nothing about how to actually rent property legally, right? And again, 28 days, 30 days. A lot of these people, I got several friends that have used arbitragers to rent out property. These arbitragers are putting people on quote unquote midterm tenants. Y'all hear all the midterm rental talk or whatever. You know what they don't teach these people at these midterm rental conferences? Landlord law. They don't teach them nothing about no landlord law. If you're staying past 30 days or 28 days in most states, these tenants have tenant rights, and you don't know nothing about the law. So these sovereign citizens dudes that all they do is read books, right? All day long, they getting over on these cats. You see what I'm saying? They read books all day long, but they don't do nothing in life, right? They do a whole lot of reading, but no action, right? They can get over on people because they tell you all kind of mess. I had this dude try to run game on me. He was there 7 days. Well, I ain't really got to leave if I start getting mail at your location.
Wow.
Hey, and you know what I told him?
What's that?
Where you at? You in third ward with a real third ward. You know what? You F with me if you want to. right?
Yeah.
Because I can go legal with you, or I can go hood with you.
And that's the thing. Why we gotta be hood in order to because the laws, bro, it's like the laws
But I
are
go with
being used.
legal limits. I'm always gonna go legal first, right? Just because
Absolutely.
that's just gonna be my aggressive tactics, right? As I said, if you less than 28 days, I have a trespassing sign up. You are a trespasser. You are not a squatter. You are not a tenant. You're not a leaseholder, right?
None of those things.
I can get to treat you like that. And I live in Texas, and we love the Second Amendment.
So real quick,
I just wanted to ask y'all a question though, because I'm definitely going to court right now. I followed the process. Like most of the stuff y'all talked about, I did the rent demand letter, I did the affidavit of service, I sent it certified mail, and then I got the eviction and everything, and everything was done in the proper way. However, at the last minute, right before the lady was supposed to be evicted, she lawyered up, and now they asked me for an order to show cause. The lady saying that she wasn't serviced right. And that's what I'm going to court for right now. They talk about, oh, they got to first show that the order that the service was correct, and then if that was correct, they want to take me to trial and all of this right now. So like, it's crazy that y'all having this conversation, because this is what I'm going through right now.
Wow.
I'm just curious, are you doing this on your own, or do you have an attorney representing you?
Yeah, I did it pro se. I did it myself. I actually did it myself because I thought it was going to be something quick. But I mean, it's turning into a nightmare.
The unfortunate thing about it is that for me, I attempted to do a lot of these things myself years ago, and I stopped doing that, and I would just hire an attorney to address it, because a lot of the tricks that you're talking about, that's not what we do. So the person understands tricks, and if they claim in court that they did not understand the law or they need assistance, then they have a right to a legal aid. Then that could extend the process even further. So hopefully it doesn't go that far for you, but I would definitely suggest getting an attorney.
And again, I think that's a great advice. A lot of people out here trying to look. I give advice on, we give advice on landlords. I know a lot about the law, but I know a lot about the law because I have lawyer friends, right? Now, there's a certain point where you can do all this to yourself. Once they lawyer up, right, we need to respect the profession of lawyers. Your 9 times are gonna lose against that lawyer. So you need to lawyer up. If they lawyer up, you got to lawyer up, right? And the lawyer's job is to piecemeal through it, especially these pro bono attorneys, right? In a lot of these states, there's a lot of law firms that make millions of dollars, and they want to maintain their good standing. So they go do this pro bono. They go send the junior lawyers, they go send the new guys to go just sit in court and represent people or for these type of situations, because the whole world hates landlords. Right? Everybody hates landlords and we love tenants. And so people do this. Like I said, for me, one of my good friends who, we did a whole 3-hour class together. That's what he does. He works for a multi-million-dollar law firm, and he does pro bono work just to trip up landlords because they know you ain't got your paperwork together.
I got a question. Well, I want to get, because I know Welby brought this up. Well, but why do you think people hate landlords? Where how has this been a thing for years?
Well, the reason why they hate landlords, I think, is because they're ignorant to what being a landlord is. They're assuming. So no different than you'll see somebody, especially in today's world, pull up in a brand new BMW or pull up in an exotic car. Right? You assume that person is doing well. You assume that person is making money until you get to digging a bit deeper. And a lot of the times they're not. So when you're looking at a property, real estate ownership is one of the most promoted avenues of building wealth in this country. And it's gotten more and more difficult to obtain that. So now you living in a property that somebody else owns, and then the rents are going up. You feel that this person is making a boatload of money off of you and that they're living high off the hog, when a lot of the times that's not the case for most landlords. So I think that there's a level of envy, there's a level of misunderstanding of what is being a landlord or a property owner. And then you know what? A lot of the times envy brings hate. Envy brings unhappiness, things of that nature. So I think that that's part of the reason why.
Well, I want to
Elijah
say
put in the
something about
chat.
that too. If you let me say something about
Yeah,
that
please.
too, right? What I say is this: I agree with everything the brother said. However, I also say I don't know about in Texas, in New York, you have a whole lot of slumlords, right? They're not really taking care of the property. There's a vermin infestation, and you know it's a lot of issues with living in properties. A lot of tenement buildings in New York, right? And the problem is that they're raising the rent, but the quality of life is not going up. So a lot of
Can I
people
touch
hate
on that?
landlords in New York for that factor.
Can I touch on that if you don't mind? Are you from New York?
Absolutely, brother.
Okay, I'm from New York too, so I understand what you're saying, right? But here's what's unfair. When they say that the quality of living is not being raised, but the rents is being raised. The rents is only being raised because the landlord has to keep up with the cost of running the business. No one talks about that fact. So now our taxes have doubled. Right?
Wow.
Our taxes as property owners have doubled. Our insurances have gone up 40% pre-pandemic. Nobody gives a damn about that. So now the landlord has to raise it to keep up. Most landlords are barely making it, right? But we don't see the same energy and pressure when we go to the gas station to fill up that car. We don't see the same pressure when we walk into the Louis Vuitton store or any of those other spots in the mall that's overpriced. We don't hear nobody bitching and complaining about that. When we go into the supermarket, we don't hear nobody bitching and complaining about a carton of eggs is now $12. But when it comes to the landlord, it's because it's roach infested and it's vermin infested. So why is it that the people that are living in the projects in New York ain't in a rush to leave?
I didn't
Why?
We didn't put those roaches and those vermin in there.
Oh, my brother, thank you very much.
Hold up
We don't bring the
now.
roaches.
Y'all know, now you know the whole New York is infested with rats, roaches, and mice.
I do pest control every quarter, and I can tell you with certainty, I didn't put them goddamn roaches in there. you know what I'm saying? I can tell you right now, they nasty ass bring them roaches and vermin. That's being real, right? I have to deal with this.
I don't know about you, brother, but this is New York. New York, it's a standard. It's damn near standard in New York. Damn near everywhere in New York is infested.
No,
but listen, my man is right though. I'm from New York. He's right. But the landlord gets blamed for it. The landlord gets blamed. They get blamed for it when it's not the landlord's fault. And then it's being used as an excuse to justify not to pay the rent.
Look.
Yo, this is crazy.
Incentives out there. They got incentives for killing them damn rats now.
Yeah, I pull up. How many times, Welby, have you pulled up somebody complaining about pest control? I got this, I got that. You bring the pest control guy out there. You might want to show up to see how bad the situation is, and you looking around, and the unit is nasty as hell.
Oh,
right?
Every time.
Every time. Right?
Every time.
You got unwashed dishes. They ain't take out the trash. Come on now.
Listen, I got a brand new building built from the ground up. Nothing, completely empty, a 3-family. I moved this family in. I don't want to label just because they were Section 8, but they just happen to be Section 8 tenants. I gave you a brand new apartment with absolutely no vermin, no roaches, nothing. These people were supposed to be a family of 5 people. They moved in 12 people into the apartment. 3 months later, I just evicted these people out, and I damn near had to fumigate the entire building because these people left me, a bunch of family and friends. You understand? But here's what's so crazy about it. When Section 8 would come, I get the blame.
Absolutely.
I get the blame for it, that I have to get it exterminated for that situation that happened. But it's the tenant that brought that in. But nobody want to talk about that.
And
we hear people talk about their income is not keeping up. That's not my fault. That's not the property owner's fault. Why don't you and the union that you're a part of fight the employer that you're working with and demand an increase in your pay? It's not our fault that the rents had to go up for us to keep up with what's going on.
And I'll tell you right now, Welby, people talking about, I don't even raise the rent. That's not me. Don't blame me. Go talk to your local municipality, because 9 times out of 10, I'm not the one raising rent. It's the property taxes. You talking about property taxes doubling? Look, I got an apartment complex. When I first bought it, the tax was $12,500. 3.5 years later, I'm paying $29,000.
Okay. Listen to all the landlords and property owners that are watching this right now. Listen to me clearly. Raise your rents.
Every time.
Raise your rents.
Ain't nobody gonna be able to live in there. You're gonna have to have 4 or 5 people in a 1-bedroom apartment in New York.
I respect that. You probably right, but for the property owner, raise your rents.
Don't for nobody else. Don't go broke for other people because they don't give a shit. Right?
Why you know what? You know what they don't talk about in New York that goes on? We have rent stabilization in New York, right? So now property values shoot up like crazy. You can't even buy a property in New York, especially if you purchase in a rent stabilized building, because the value of the property to the acquisition that you're buying it for to what the cash flow is, you're already negative. What happens now? You know what they convinced people that you let's just grandfather the apartment to the next generation.
Wow.
You got 4 generations of family living in the same apartment because the rent is low. How is that fair?
And these same people that put in that law, right? They're also raising your property taxes. They also they ain't got no cap on insurance. So for me, like I said, taxes and insurance is what eat up my profits every year. I can tell you that right now.
Absolutely.
They eat up every year. And what I can't do is go broke because you want to be a bum or you want to be a scammer or you can't handle your business in your household. And to your point, look, the government has exported housing into the private sector for us, but yet they want to make laws about it. But they don't want.
And they got a million rules for housing landlords. But if you go to any project that they run, own, and control, it's not even, the standards are trash.
Full of lead, chip paint, racks, and everything. And I don't see the people in the projects giving the same energy. Wow. Why are you not raising hell in the projects, but you want to raise hell to the private sector of that? Why is that? I don't see you calling Channel 7 News continuously in the projects and telling them how bad you guys are living the people are living in the projects. And I grew up in the projects.
What'd you say to God? Is the God with us? Yeah, what you say?
Yeah, I'm here. I said they raising taxes in the community, but it's not being reflected in the community, right? They're not picking up the trash on time. The roads is jacked up. The schools is jacked up, right? And then you got the median income in Harlem, per se, is 30, 40, 50,000, but they want you to have at least 200,000 to rent a house. So what are we talking about here? That's fucked up.
He's right. Yeah.
The median income in Harlem is in the 40,000.
Facts.
How? How is this possible? Why do people still live here?
Blue collar workers, man. Look, people ask how all the time. I tell people all the time about income inequality, and ultimately people are broke. And people are like, why? Well, how come they can't do this? Whatever. Y'all like it. Y'all love that McDonald's employee that's there every day to give you your home hamburger. How much do they pay y'all? Right? Like these people, and they work in 2 and 3 jobs. Most of my tenants that either on Section 8 or not on Section 8, they all work, right? They all work. They work in 2 or 3 jobs. The money don't add up. If people are like, well, how the money don't add up? Look at all of the wait staff, all of the hospitality, all of the industries that you like to be served. People working there and know what they get paid. They get paid $10, $12. Minimum wage in this country is still $7.75. $7.75 is minimum wage in this country. How can anybody survive on that? right? And that's why I go back to people. The property taxes are being raised, and to your point, the guy, they aren't being repositioned in the neighborhoods. That's why, for me, as a African American man, I don't like to hear us talking about not voting, because again, taxation without representation is the foundation of this country. Foundation. Right? So you choosing to not be represented with your tax dollars is faulty. It's faulty. Even if you're a property owner or not. If you're a renter, you're essentially, if you're paying your rent on time, you're helping me pay my property taxes, you should have rights. Right? And for me, that's my big thing is I pay a lot of property taxes. Last year, I paid $86,000 in property taxes to Harris County. Period. And I know
what
that
happens, right? Because what we noticing right now with the squatter thing, and the only reason why, here's the thing. Investors been dealing with squatters. We've been dealing with squatters. This is nothing new for us. What's happening now, the reason why we're seeing this on the news is because the lady that we showed in the clip, she's not an investor, y'all. She's a regular person that's looking to sell her house. And all of the new clips that you're seeing on TV about squatters, none of them are investors. All of them are regular people. So my question is, I don't want to get Welby's take. I want to get a Najee. I want to get everybody in on this. What do you think is going to happen now that regular people are dealing with issues that investors have been having to deal with for years, but it was ignored, right? And I'm gonna actually partially blame investors because we don't complain enough. We like to act like we tough and we got it all figured out and we gonna handle it. Nah, you need to complain about some of this shit. What do you think is going to be the case now that this is hitting Main Street? Regular Miss Mary down the street can't get in the house because somebody done moved in on her.
I ain't gonna lie, that clip, that video of that older lady, I'm gonna call her older. She wasn't old, but she was a grown woman, right? Being harassed and pushed around by that big old dude. That's probably the best thing to help us in a long time. Keeping it real. Right? Yeah. Like keeping it real. That media, that reporter did a fantastic job of documenting and how he positioned it. Right. See, a lot of this is about messaging. So many messages in the media villainizes landlords and property owners, right? But the message here in the image was just bad. Like part of this issue was just the imagery itself. That dude had to be over 6'2", 6'3". She probably was 5 foot nothing. You know what I'm saying? And he out here forcibly pushing her. He couldn't have no whatever. And I praise that reporter because, all the time reporters ain't good. But I praise that reporter because that reporter stayed there to see the whole situation play out. Right. And that probably is going to be the best thing to happen to us. I hope some of that continue to get viral. That's why I actually tell everybody, post that video, make that thing go viral. And hopefully 1 or 2 states start to change these laws. But ultimately, Byron, I don't actually think a whole lot's really going to change with this because I do think income inequality is out of control, and people and these elected officials are always going to side in the face of their constituencies, which happen to be more tenants than landowners. That's the problem, right? So we just got to get more of these type of stories out there. To your point, landlords don't complain enough.
What's your take on this, Welby?
I agree with what my brother just said. I don't think it's going to change much because, especially given the fact that we're projecting in the next 5 to 10 years that America is going to be 60% renters. So I don't think they're going to make it that much more easier for landlords or property owners. So what I really do think is that property owners, we need to come together more. We need to put more things in place to protect ourselves in terms of what I kind of gave some of the things that I do, because I think it's gonna get even more rampant, especially now with the illegal immigrant issue that's happening, and that they even can go into a home and play this game and everything else like that. I see it's gonna get even worse.
Wow. So income inequality seems to be driving this conversation. What's your thoughts on this one, Darby? Like, income inequality seems to be the culprit, but we're getting the brunt of the issues in the private sector when technically this is a government induced issue. What's your take on that?
they don't. And what I mean by they, I would say the government doesn't really care. They play the cards to where it's going to benefit them. So, say for example, I want to say 3 years ago here in Charlotte, we had this big area that was, a very known mall, and it tore down. The whole city was in an uproar because a lot of people have really memories in there. However, there's a company out in New York that's doing some development there, and a lot of investors showed up to this council meeting to explain, like, hey, I got rental properties over here, and primarily this area is full of seniors. And some seniors showed up. They said, listen, we're renting, but what y'all doing this development is going to raise our taxes. And some of them are on Social Security. So the thing is that we didn't have the right people in place as far as council to really balance that. So now they're trying to work on here in Charlotte to give not only the tenants and owners of those properties over there, but they're trying to give landlords tax incentives to keep their rent rates at a minimum, so it won't be a burden to everybody, so they can fulfill the development. So as far as the income, that's going to be an ongoing thing. Like, I really don't have an answer for that, because that's going to be an ongoing thing. Like just what Onaje said, minimum wage is still $7.75 or $7.25 in some states. And they don't look on to plan on raising that anytime soon. That's why you got people at McDonald's flipping burgers arguing for $15 an hour just so they can make the bare minimum wage to be qualified for Section 8 and so on and so forth. Because a lot of people don't qualify for Section 8 because of certain criteria they don't meet.
My thing is this: we got rent fixing, right? And rent caps and all this kind of stuff. I'm completely against it. I've never understood how it benefits the American people long term. But I know I'm not in one of these, crazy states like the New Yorks and the Californias. I'm not in those places. So my perspective may be a little skewed. So, DeGod, do you believe that rental caps should be a thing? And I want to get Welby's take on this too, because I know you in New York as well. But DeGod, are you with us right now? Or Welby?
Well, can I say one more thing real quick?
Yeah.
I think all investors, and I require for all investors, and I'm just saying this lightly, y'all should be a part of the Metro City Chamber of Commerce to know what's going on, to know what's coming in the future, and know how it's going to affect you. Because if you're not part of the Chamber of Commerce in your Metro City, especially if you're part of a large Metro City, then you're going to be behind, and you're going to be playing 20 years behind for quite a long time.
Wow.
And you should vote, and you should donate to political campaigns. Most investors got money. Go donate. All this here, I'm not whatever. Look, they are passing laws on all that affect us, and we have no say-so. Our say-so oftentimes is our money, right? Go ahead and donate to them political campaigns. I can always go back to that, man, because these are the people that's passing the laws.
That's a fact.
Why would they pass the law on your behalf if they ain't never talk to you?
So what's your thoughts on rent control, Welby, and as a Band-Aid for increased housing prices, increased rent, and instead of it being, focusing on, jobs and different things of that nature? What's your take on that?
I don't agree with rent control at all. I think that it should be an open market, and then the market should determine what the pricing should be. So if I'm trying to get $1,000, but the majority of the area is getting $700, I'm the one that's out. Because why would anybody come to me? So when you're using rent control as a standard, the problem is that most of these people, even though they're elected officials, aren't educated in our space. So they're making these assumptions or these opinions on what rents should be, but it's not realistic because it's not keeping up with where things are at the moment. Which, if I give a perfect example, if in New York at one period of time, I don't know if it's changed now, but at one period of time, Section 8 was paying above market rates. And they were doing that to incentivize landlords to take on that demographic of people, because the private sector did not want to touch, the Section 8 people. So the incentive was to pay them a bit more. Then what started happening now, the market in New York and in Connecticut, where I have a lot of my properties, blew right past what Section 8 is. So now what's happening, and I've been seeing in my areas, is that Section 8 on average is paying below what market rates are. And then what their way of selling it to you are, and what a lot of these funny gurus are selling it to you are, your rent is somewhat guaranteed. And I don't go with that. I'm not with that. So I think that rent stabilization and all is a tricky subject, and I don't think that that's something that should be happening.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll go so far, Byron, as to say that, you know, and I don't live in a rent control area, thank God, and I'll never buy property in one. But I would argue it probably causes people to be a slumlord. Right.
It does. My
because
brother
you're
just hit it.
stuck.
But you want to know, you see how what you just said is complete logic, what you just said. That's all it is. So when people are upset, quote unquote, calling somebody a slumlord, and as what you just said is rent control, they're not making enough cash flow. These landlords are barely surviving. They're barely surviving. So where do you want the money to come from for them to fix the place up?
Wow.
Yeah. They ain't got it, and that's the problem. But you'd be amazed. I swear to you guys, you would be amazed actually talking to some of these politicians. But people got to realize. See, I talk to a lot of politicians. I realize the truth. The truth of the matter is, a good chunk of them are just broke people with no job, so they go ahead and go make their own job.
Amen to that.
Right, and again, I'm not speaking ill. I'm just calling reality. I know people that are especially around Houston. They are professionals at running for office because they don't really do no real work. And what that means, you know, and that's reality, right? And the thing about it is, because they never had a real profession in real life. They ain't never really paying bills. They ain't owning nothing themselves. They're not doing this kind of stuff. So who are they talking to? And most of the time, whenever I talk to politicians, everything I'm telling them, they like surprised. What do you mean your taxes went up and your insurance went up and you got these bills and this, that, and the other, and the tenant brought the roaches over? What are you talking about? Right? Like, because a lot of people, all they see is the $1,000 a month that you're making, but no one sees your mortgage, no one sees your taxes, no one sees your insurance, no one the repairs, right? No one sees somebody running into my gate every month or whatever. Now I got to repair this gate every month. Now you got these shyster lawyers. You heard these shyster lawyers on the radio talking about sue the landlord if he didn't repair the gate at the apartment complex.
My Jesus.
They want to sue. And just so we're clear, the reason why there's so much hate on landlords, because we live in the haterade country, right? Everybody loves to drink some haters, right? We hate the person above us. And 9 times out of 10, the landlord is the richest person that the everyday citizen will ever meet.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
We're likely, and we may not be rich in reality, but in their mind, right? They're never going to meet Bill Gates. They're never going to meet Mark Zuckerberg. They're never going to meet anybody rich, right? And a lot of people who will never own property, generational curses and generational poverty, right? We're likely the richest person they're ever going to meet or even be close to or talk to in life. So we're the first barrier of quote unquote richness, right? And if you're living in poverty, if you're making 25, 30 grand a year, what's the real difference between a landlord that owns 50 doors and a Mark Zuckerberg? They don't know no difference. Now we know there's a massive
you just a problem at the end of the day.
Right. So to me, I think we're the first line of quote unquote hating somebody that's doing quote unquote better than me or whatever and blah blah. Like, we're the closest that they can touch.
And don't let you be black.
Especially if you black. That's a real problem.
Yo, what you got to add to that, Welby?
What's the question? I'm so sorry. I was listening, but what was the question?
This, you know, the fact that the hate on the landlords, right, and unrealistic, and I think it's an unrealistic, misplaced hate too. Where do you think that comes from, and do you even see that as something that will ever change?
It's never going to change. And, as the brother Onaji just said, he's right about that. That to a degree, you almost look up as I don't know, somebody bigger. I want to say the right word, somebody bigger, because here's this person coming in and I'm paying him or I'm paying her money to live here. So there's always this level of you know, hate or envy or whatever that is that's gonna come with it anyway, you know, and deal with it accordingly. Oh well, you know, it is what it is. Oh well, and just move on. So the biggest thing that I would tell any person, landlord or person that wants to get into the business, is just make sure that you're buying correctly so that you can absorb these things that we're sharing with you all, because eventually these things are gonna happen at your front door. Off your front step. Eventually, you're going to have a problematic tenant. Eventually, you're going to have a person not paying rent. Eventually, you're going to have damages to your property and things of that nature. So make sure that you're buying correctly. Your cash flow is extensive enough so that when these things happen, you're still on the side of green, making money instead of you know, just treading water, hoping to survive.
Wow. I didn't get Degad's take on, I don't know if Degad, are you with us right now?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's your take on rent control? Because you seem to be more on the side of the people, not necessarily just on the investor side. What's your take on that? Rent control. You think this is a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, it's good because the income is not going up in the community as much as it should, right? But it's bad, as y'all say, on the investor side or on the landlord side. But look, like, I'm gonna keep it honest with you, right? A lot of people are not, you know, they're not bad people. Like, people have gone to college. Like, for instance, I work in the nonprofit world. I work in the human service world, right? I got a team of 12 people that's under me as my staff, and the average person is making $50,000, right? But right now, you need at least $200,000 to live in New York City, and that's just an issue, right? So, like, you have a lot of these developers in New York that are built. They got like these 80-20 plans that they building, where it's 80% market rate and only 20% affordable housing, right? So what you building all of these condos in Harlem, but nobody can afford them because the average person is only making 50,000. So who, like, y'all are they're running people out of New York City. They are running people out of New York City.
But how do you fix a problem? From the private sector standpoint, how do you even fix a problem like that? Because you can only build according to what people are willing to pay for.
Exactly. So, you know, they're like way behind. Like, you know, all across America, they're way behind in the amount of houses that need to be built. But it's like, it's really an unfixable problem. And like, it's not enough energy being invested into it to really solve it. So I understand that they sending a lot of these migrants and stuff up here. But my question is when they get out of these shelters, where they going to live at? Because they're not going to be able to afford to live in New York City. Because the average person can't afford to live in New York City. And I understand what the brother is saying, how he get a lot of flack as a landlord. But in most of the communities in New York City, they're not owned by people who live in the community. It's people that's outside of the community that own these places. They're slumlords, and they don't take care of the property, and they don't invest back in the community.
But tell me this, wouldn't rent control create the slumlord? Kind of like what Anaje was saying. Like, how can you not be a slumlord if you got to deal with rent control?
If it wasn't for rent control, you wouldn't be able to have a tenant.
I don't agree with that.
So where they gonna come from? How many people do you know that's making over 100,000? How many people? It's not really a lot of people that make over 100,000. Only about 10% of the population.
I agree with what you're saying with that, but guess what? As you said, and there's still a housing shortage. There's still a housing shortage. So I promise you, if those people were to empty out those apartments and fix those apartments up, and even if they didn't get what they could get, they got higher than they put it up higher than what was rented before, that place would be filled out in the same day. So it's not an issue with tenants. getting enough tenants. There's not an issue about that. There's enough tenants out there, but the issue is so much more bigger than us. And you see how the brother's saying some solid information and he's right, and what we're talking about is right, but it's bigger than us.
But
It's
we're not
above us.
the problem
Yeah,
ain't between
that's
us.
right.
The
But
problem ain't between
we're the ones that bicker amongst each other
it,
about it, but it's above us, the problem.
it is above us, and I think that's the biggest issue, right? To your point, there's a lot of new construction right now. There's a lot of apartments being built, and there's a lot of them going belly up for the same reason the God just said, because people can't afford it. The only real development at the apartment level that's viable right now in America is some type of affordable housing mechanism with tax abatements. That's the only thing that's
Because
really
the government is subsidizing the loss. So in reality, it's not really viable. It's just the government is coming through with the losses.
Well, there's law. They're coming through because all they're doing is saying you ain't got to pay me, which is really the issue that they caused in the first place. See what I'm saying? So here's the problem. The problem is property taxes are going up because we're raising property. So in Texas, here's a prime example of what's going on. Here's the real problem. In Texas, there's a law that property taxes cannot go up by more than 10% on a homestead. Okay, if you have a homestead attached to your house, they have a law that the property tax can't go up more by 10%. That's a fantastic law, right? That sounds awesome, right? But what if the city budget goes up by 20%, just like they did in Houston, where they just paid the firefighters another $650 million? Who's gonna pay for that? Who's paying for that? The landlord is paying for that. So the whole game, the whole trick is, hey, well, we didn't raise property taxes on the homeowner, right? But we raised property taxes on everybody else and all the renters, right? Because by default, right? By default,
throw rocks and hide the hands.
Exactly. So
and then blame the landlord for the taxes that they. Oh my God, this is disgusting.
Now we talking about it.
Well,
now
this
we
is
getting
disgusting.
into it.
And they get to say, and it's funny because it's like, somebody just put in the chat, Miz just put in the chat, said that it all comes down to the character of the landlord. A landlord could charge $5,000 per month and still not keep the property up to snuff. That's true. But here's the thing though. What about these situations that Anaje was just talking about? Here's the deal. Yes, you can't increase that homestead, but everybody else, the landlords are still getting that increase in taxes, still getting that increase in insurance, still having to rebuild that gate that people keep running into or make these property. So it's, even though you got to understand, you're in a situation where you get an increase in a little bit of money for a little bit, but how many losses did that little bit of money, right, make up for it? And I noticed this even with employing people. I remember like we'd have some big months, right? We'd have some big months. But we'd have a big month and then 2 or 3 months of slow months, right? 2 or 3 months of slow months that we just had to figure it out, and just to be able to make everything continue to float normally. But you get that one big month and then everybody's talking raise. Everybody is talking like, what you gonna do for me? What have you done for me lately? And it's like, wait a minute. I just had one big month. What about the last 3 months when things were slow? People don't look at the last 3 months. They look at the fact that you got something right now, and now all of a sudden it's Santa Claus season. My Jesus.
Byron, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You with me. AC is mandatory down here, right?
Absolutely.
It's pretty much mandatory, right? Because it's so hot. Now, what costs more, a window unit or a regular AC HVAC system?
HVAC.
By a mile, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
By a mile, $4,500 versus $500, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty much mandatory. Look, these tenants, what happens if they don't change their air filters?
It's gonna ruin the AC, the HVAC system at some point.
Ruin it. That's a $4,000 to $5,000 charge, right? For off the rip. Now, let's keep it real. The average rental property that might wipe out your profits for the year.
Facts.
right? And this is the example of when people say, why is my rents going up? Why did you break my AC unit? I told you it's in the lease to change the filters. Everybody know, oh, why did you sneak that dog in? Why did you call this an ESA animal? Why did you bring your ESA or your service dog knowing your ass is lying? Now you got all this dog hair and cat hair in these AC filters breaking my damn HVAC system, which is a fact, by the way, right? Them dog hair is the easiest thing to break a HVAC system. Right. So now I got to recoup, and let's call the hardcore truth of it is that somebody's going to pay for it one way or another. And it's likely going to be the next tenant or you. Right. Because I got to raise the rents.
You know what's happening? It's almost like on this particular issue, the government is throwing rocks, hiding hands. Right. And I think the good news is that the squatters are attacking. The good and unfortunate news, the squatters are attacking regular people now. Been happening to us. Been happening to us. But I hope and I pray that unfortunately, even though the squatters we're starting to see this stuff happen to regular people, that the government steps in and says, you know what, something needs to be done to fix this. Something needs to be done to remedy this situation because it's getting out of control. And the optics of this thing does not look good. So the government has been able to throw their rocks, hide their hands, raise their little taxes, raise the insurance, and the landlord just had to figure it out, raise rents, and then look like the bad guy, right? And all you hear on the news is rents are out of control, landlords are greedy. This is the narrative, right? But they're not looking at the reality of the narrative, which is everything else is going up. We're also dealing with squatters. We're also dealing with people not wanting to pay rent. We're also dealing with people who can't afford to pay rent.
That's why with the pandemic, the landlords or the property owners were the last people to get some level of help.
Facts. We were the last.
The government, the city created a narrative implying to the people that they did not have to pay rent. It's not until they got pressed, then they told the tenants, no, you do have to pay rent. They just can't evict you. And it has snowballed into a huge, huge problem. Nobody did anything to remedy that for the property owner, even down to when the rents were going to be subsidized, because each city had a program where they would pay their back rent. It was contingent on if the tenant agreed to it. The tenant had to agree to it for us to get paid, and we had to reinstate keeping them in the apartment. So now, after it's all said and done, rents went up across the country 40%. 40% across the board, because the landlords is like, you know what? We need to recoup our money now. Then the tenants are complaining about the rents was up, but when you could have paid your rent during that period of time, you didn't.
Wow.
You did it. So what did you expect? What did you think was going to happen?
Boy, this is a conundrum. Listen, I know. Listen, we out of time. You know, I gotta get ready for some training, but this has been a fruitful conversation, very enlightening conversation, and it really just speaks to the fact that we got a lot of uncomfortable truths to deal with here in America, and I don't think we've even scratch the surface as to all of the things that we need to be working on. This is why, again, voting is important. And I'm gonna be honest with you. You know me, I lean a little bit more on the conservative side for a lot of these very reasons, because I do believe that some of these things, some of these issues are prompted by artificial manipulation of markets. I believe that a lot of this is caused by the entitlement inside of the United States of America. The mentality is most people are running around very entitled. Nobody's feeling like they should have to work for anything. And I don't think that this is a good way to continue a country successfully. This is the reason why, unfortunately, Anaje, I lean heavy on the conservative side, especially fiscally. because I believe that it will be a level of conservative values to fix a lot of these issues fiscally. Now, it will cause some pain in the short term, but in the long term, I believe that we will fare out a whole lot better in the future as a result of these things. So just my thoughts. Anaje, I know that that's probably a violation on your end, but that's just, I just don't see no other way. I don't see another way. So listen, I just want to say special thanks to everybody for pulling up and sharing with us on this particular conversation. And we definitely going to have to bring this up again and talk about this. Shout out to Welby, shout out to Najee, Darby, Bam Bam, to God for pulling up. Really, really appreciate y'all. But listen, we get ready to head up out of here. If you haven't already, make sure you join the family. We got 3 different tiers. Make sure you join the family. We got the Trailblazer, the Visionary, and Legacy. Make sure you join that. And with that being said, listen, if you haven't, make sure you check out our sponsor, Taskify. If you're looking to get a CRM that will help make calls and do all of these different things, make sure you tap in with Taskify. And with that being said, we're up out of here.
What's up, y'all? So most people struggle with sales. A lot of us in real estate, and we struggle with our sales. We struggle with follow-up, we struggle with leads, and we just basically missing out on deals. For me, I just got on Taskify CRM. They send messages out for you. And look, a lot of us have work. When you get off of work, you have hot leads ready for you. Make sure you check out Taskify CRM. I'm telling you, it automatically replies for you. And look, it sends you multiple messages. Like we talking about drip campaigns, so you're not missing up on the lead follow-up. So make sure you check out Taskify CRM. Use coupon code NOSTINGYENERGY to get 10% off. I'm about to show y'all inside my CRM so I can see how it really works. Make sure y'all check it out. Peace.